So we've talked about strategy on how to think about reading your first 10K and choosing it. And now we're actually going to get into the mix of this. And I want you to take a close look at the table of contents at whatever 10K that you've chosen. Now I've chosen Viacom for this example and illustration, but really it's going to be the same no matter what. No matter which 10K that you choose, I want to discuss with you the organization. It turns out that for all 10Ks, it's not like other books or novels or things like that. They are all organized exactly the same. All of them will have as item 1 the background, and all of them will have as item 8 the financial statements, and that's just how it is. That is because ultimately this is a document that is filed with a governmental agency. It is a form in some ways with various sections that every public company has to comply with. It's for this reason that I can often tell whether or not someone has read the 10K or ever even opened one up. If they can't even describe or understand where to look or what to think about as relates to where they might find the information they need, it just tells me they have no concept of what this document is all about. But if you look at the table of contents, you will see that every single company should have these elements. And then within each of these elements, there are certain things that should be included. And we're going to go through that as we get a little further along into the document. Now, if there's any confusion that what I'm speaking is absolute truth, take a look at item 4. It probably reads as the heading Mine Safety Disclosures, unless you've got the one document that is a little different. And if you do, make sure that your company is actually a US headquartered company. If it's not, that would be why. But every 10K is going to have a mine safety disclosure if it's filed with the SEC. Even if they have nothing whatsoever to do with mines, and that just comes from the historic reasons for why this document exists. And every single document will have in the mine safety disclosures, if it has nothing to do with mines, approximately the same verbiage. So if you were confused that this was more or less someone filling out a form, that right there is a huge tell. Enough, a lot of folks ask me, hey May, are there certain sections of this 10K that are more important than others? And I understand why people are thinking that, because particularly if they've got an older, more established company, this document looks really, really long and it can be very intimidating. And all I can really say is don't be intimidated. I'm here to walk you through it. It's going to be awesome. If you're thinking of skipping any sections, I really don't recommend that until you've become more comfortable with what a 10K is trying to say, how and why. And we'll go through a little bit of shortcuts. But really, for your first few readings, I really want you to read it front to back. Now, there is one little nuance, caveat to that, and that is depending on how comfortable you are with financial statements. For most people, if they haven't really picked up a 10K before, even if they've got a huge accounting background, financial statements are still kind of a learning work in progress, let's call it. You might know the financial statements of what you're doing immediately extremely well, but when we start to try to broaden that out across companies, each one has little nuances. So for that reason, if there was any suggestion I would give, it would be the following. Item 8 of every annual report or 10K is the consolidated statement of financials. Now, there's a little nuance to that. If you're doing certain types of companies, such as the insurers, or alternatively, a couple of the multi-conglomerates, very few. The consolidated statement of financials will also have parent financials and subsidiary financials, but what you really want is the consolidated statement of financials. So that's going to be the consolidated balance sheet, the consolidated cash flow statement, and the consolidated income statement. If you are still coming up the curve, or even if you just want this as a shortcut, I'll do it from time to time. Go ahead and pull those out, separate them, print them, and have them available as you're reading. I might even suggest that you review them a little bit. Look at what's interesting to you on those statements and kind of circle them and know that you're going to really want to dig in on that. Now, the consolidated statement of financials should provide the current period, the immediate next period, and the period before. So really it's going to include at least 3 years. If it does not include 3 years, that is because either the company is not 3 years old, it could be the case that they recently re-emerged, like they were merged with another company, or something else. But that's usually something to just take note of and make sure that you know the answer to. Almost every company should have 3 years of financial statements for you to compare across. And some of the bigger and older, more established companies will give you up to 5 years, but 3 is really what we're looking for. Now, the reason I'm telling you to pull out these financial statements is that literally every single page of this document, both the business description in the front to all of the notes that then accompany after item 8 that clarify what's going on, all of that is dedicated to explaining how did you get to these consolidated statements of financials. All of the different multiples you'll hear people talked about, debt to cap, all of that is based off the consolidated statement of financials. The parent and other stuff, that's a little bit beyond the scope of this immediate video. There are reasons why you're going to want to look at that, but largely speaking, it's really the consolidated statement of financials that we care about.